Hello and welcome to All Villa, No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. Villa have signed Diego Carlos from Spanish side Sevilla. The Brazilian defender reportedly cost around £28 million. On this show, I'm joined by our guest this week, football journalist and Ranks FC podcaster Sam Tighe. Great to meet you, Sam. And first of all, I do have to ask you, the Grealish shirt on the wall. I think a lot of Villa fans have probably noticed that who are watching this. Any backstory to that at all? Or?
Well, look, I'm balancing it out with the Rashford shirt as well.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of others. I've got an Oxlade-Chamberlain one. I've got a Thomas Muller one. They're all signed, so they're all very special to me. I sort of rotate them on the wall. But look, I mean, I know that lots of Villa fans turned on Grealish to an extent towards the end. Look, I'm fond of Villa and I'm very fond of Grealish. I don't begrudge him the move. I'm part of that camp. So it hasn't really changed anything, to be honest with you, with regard to how I hold him in my esteem. But the story behind the shirt is very simple. He was enjoying his obviously incredible season before last. Like a few Villa fans, obviously I know Kevin, his brother, and I just said, any chance you can get me one. It was during like the height of lockdown. It took about 2 months, but we got one. So it's as simple as that. I'm a big fan of signed shirts on walls. So there you go.
No, I still would applaud him when he comes back to Villa Park, and I hope one day maybe we'll see him in a Villa shirt again. That's just my view.
Yeah.
On the main topic today, Diego Carlos. I know that you've watched quite a lot of him. You've seen him live for Sevilla. But a lot of Villa fans probably aren't quite aware of who Carlos is and what sort of a player he is. So can you just sort of tell us what kind of a player Villa have signed?
This signing took me by serious surprise. I don't think there's actually a lot in the transfer market nowadays that makes me feel genuinely shocked. But Villa moving for Diego Carlos was definitely one of those. I mean, just on a basic level, it didn't seem to make sense from the perspective of this guy is a Champions League footballer. I know that Villa are aiming extremely high, and obviously Coutinho and Boubacar Kamara and Lucas Digne are evidence of that. But Diego Carlos is a regular starter for a Champions League club, a Sevilla side who have qualified for the Champions League in every single season that he's been a part of that team, and he has been a crucial part of said team. I genuinely couldn't believe it. Now, there are some negatives to Diego Carlos, which we can get to, but I must admit, I'll set the table by saying that about a year ago, before I'd seen loads of him, his first impression that he struck on me was that he was genuinely like, I mean, Man City were looking for a centre-back at the time, and I was like, could this be a fit? Like, he's got the physicality, like that just is to die for. It's the strength, it's the aggressiveness, it's the recovery speed. It's absolutely amazing. And that's one of the key components of any centre-back nowadays. If you're looking to play high line, pressing football, proactive football, front foot stuff, you need centre-backs who can thrive and operate high up and can recover if they need to. So Diego Carlos has certainly got the physical attributes, and he's got the height, and he's got the aerial prowess too. And he's a good passer of the ball. I mean, he's not left-footed, but he does play on the left side. Jules Koundé obviously ended up playing on the right-hand side a lot of the time. So Carlos had to make do with the left. He's a pretty good passer. The ball progression is pretty strong. It's not amazing, but it's good. It's good enough. But the defensive mechanics are really, really strong. And I think the physicality is something that Villa would have been really attracted to, because he feels like a player that can step from a more technical league in La Liga and go and thrive in the Premier League, because he's just big and strong and burly and scary, genuinely.
Yeah, I think that was something that I noticed when I saw videos of him or just saw pictures of him. Was just that he looked like a really strong guy. Yeah. I wouldn't dare arm wrestle him. But he, thinking about him, I guess, and thinking of Villa, I think something you could criticise Villa for in the last couple of years is that we've tended to get overrun in central midfield and in defence, and perhaps looked a little bit lightweight, maybe. So do you think Diego Carlos can go somewhere towards solving that?
I mean, not in midfield, because he won't play in midfield, but yes, he just gives you that kind of stern, physical, imperious edge that perhaps you were lacking. I mean, look, ultimately, we're looking at a player here who I kind of expect. I'm half expecting him to take Tyrone Mings' spot in the team, and you can't exactly criticize Tyrone Mings for not bringing a physical edge to games, because he does do that. but he's a scary dude. Like he's got a brick wall of a chest, and it is ridiculous to see. And so, failing that, he's just better than the others. I think probably need to bring it back to that key central point is that Villa are trying to aggressively upgrade in certain positions, and Diego Carlos I think comes in and steps in as Aston Villa's best centre back. So you're basically topping the quality charts there in a position that Steven Gerrard clearly thinks he needs to improve on, and that's kind of why I think he's going to take Tyrone Mings' spot, because I actually think Chambers has been really good since he stepped in multiple positions seemingly, and in and out of the team, perhaps unfairly at times. Has a really good performance, then drops to the bench again. He's been really good. And Concert didn't have the best year, but I'm a big believer in his qualities. So I'm looking at Tyrone there and thinking, your days could be numbered. I'm not sure.
Right, that'd be interesting to see, particularly when Concert gets fully fit towards the start of next season or the upcoming season. He's moving to the Premier League from La Liga. He's also played in Ligue 1, and I believe he played in Portugal as well. Do you think he'll find stepping into the Premier League? Do you think it will be a natural fit for him?
I mean, it should be. It should be, because he doesn't have any physical question marks hanging over him. And I tend to look at centre-backs from other leagues, and I tend to ask myself, the first question when projecting that Premier League move is, do you have the physicality and the aggression in duels and in aerials to make yourself a success? Because I think there's a very, very basic component to thriving as a Premier League centre-back, and that is, are you aggressive? Are you able to combat in duels? Are you able to leap for the ball? And some players just don't have it. Like they just don't. They can be really good footballers, really good centre-backs, but they lack that really key ingredient. And I'd point you to Victor Lindelof as a classic example of this. Like, he's a really good centre-back, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about him that just doesn't quite mesh with the Premier League, because he just ducks out of the odd duel here and there. He's not quite aggressive enough. And Pau Torres, by the way, is the same. It's really similar. He's currently being linked to Tottenham and United for 40, 50 million. Like, he lacks the physical ingredients, really, and the aggression and the duel-winning ability, I think, to really fit in the Premier League. So Carlos has that. That's a good start. And then he brings you a bit of an upgrade in the passing game. I think he gives you an air of quality, because he's been a Champions League footballer, starting Champions League footballer for the last 3 seasons. He's always available. Is it 32? So he's out of the last 6 seasons, 3 for Nantes and 3 for Sevilla. He's only dipped below 32 starts once. For the most part, it's 34 and 35. So he's always there. He represents a quality upgrade. He's got the physical tools. I'm excited to see him play. It's a move I never would have foreseen, but the ingredients are there to make it a success.
Absolutely. And he's won the Europa League as well with Sevilla, of course. I believe he scored laid on the winning goal.
He scored a bicycle kick, which went in off Lukaku.
Yeah. So, it's good to have someone like that around. Kind of looking at Villa's defence, there were times when people might have said that they were somewhat erratic last year. Now, that is a word I have seen associated with Carlos, and you sort of touched on it earlier. In what way is he perhaps erratic?
So this is why the signing really took me by surprise. It's because I thought that the most obvious way for Villa to improve defensively would be to cut out mistakes. And that's why I'm looking at Tyrone Mings there as someone to potentially be replaced. I know he's captain, but he's not Steven Gerrard's captain. And I have been looking at him for some time and thinking that the amount of mistakes, the number of errors that he makes, is relatively unsustainable if Villa want to break that glass ceiling and even start to look at themselves as peers with West Ham, let alone the rest of them, let alone that next section, which is a really difficult section to break into. Then the mistakes have got to go. And the thing is with Carlos is, he doesn't make tons of mistakes, but he does have a little bit of a reputation for losing his head a little bit. Right. He's aggressive, perhaps to a fault. Hot-headedness is probably the way I'd put it. And bringing this all together, I'd say that a really good player comparison for him, you just have to think about it in terms of he's not as good as this player. But remember Pepe for Real Madrid.
Yep.
Amazing defender, like really, really good, 95% of the time. And then every now and then he just kicks someone in the head.
Yeah.
Now, I've not seen Diego Carlos kick anyone in the head, but he can lose his head a little bit. He can be erratic. He can be a little bit overconfident. And that's why it's my surprise. So it's like, right, how will Villa improve? Cut out defensive errors. Okay, who have they signed? A player who's obviously really good, but isn't that kind of player that you can come in and be like, right, he will never make a mistake. Like, you're never really looking at Ezri Konsa in his prime and thinking that he's going to make an error. You feel so safe and secure with him. Whereas with Diego Carlos, it can spiral just a little bit. And to be clear, like he's only had 3 red cards in the last 6 seasons. Fair number of yellows, but I don't think he's ever even breached double figures. So he's not dirty or anything like that. He just has the odd mad moment. I guess the key for Villa is that the mad moments are fewer and rarer than they are for Mings. So I guess in that sense, it's an upgrade. But it is something to be wary of.
I look forward to his first game at Villa where he gives someone a stone cold stunner or something like that.
I mean, look, like in the same Europa League final that we've referenced him scoring a bicycle kick. He made a massive mistake. He earlier this season in the Champions League, he gave away a penalty against RB Salzburg, despite the fact that the same player had already done the same thing and earned a penalty beforehand. Like, he didn't learn, so he dove in a little bit. So we're talking about that aggression. He's 30 odd now, so he's not going to temper that. He is what he is. It just goes a bit overboard sometimes.
Yeah, you just touched on his age there. Now, when Villa announced the signing of Diego Carlos, there were a couple of people who mentioned that, big wages, a big fee for a player who's sort of, 29, 30. What do you kind of make of that argument?
I found it interesting that so many fans of other teams are so interested in Villa's finances. Particularly Newcastle fans. It's really, really strange. I'm actually finding the fake Villa Newcastle rivalry on Twitter really boring and annoying. I know it goes back further than that, but it's ramped up a notch since they started targeting the same players. I think this player is 29 years of age. He's in the prime age for a centre back. This is supposed to be the years in which a centre back will be the best they can ever be, and that prime stretches from somewhere between 27 and 33. Diego Carlos is fast. He's physical. He's in excellent condition. I don't see this as a massive problem at all. I know that Villa have been scarred in the past and been saddled with huge wages that they can't get rid of. Like when Agbonlahor got that new contract, when he was physically dusted and then he spent 4 years grinding it out. Like, this is not one of those scenarios. And this is a position where you genuinely can say that 29 to 31 is the true peak. I wouldn't be worried about Diego Carlos being a bit of a wage dump here at all. And
the fundamental question is, does he improve the Villa defence?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think he steps in as the best centre back. Look, man, you got 6 seasons with Nantes and Sevilla, and in particular with Sevilla, 35, 32, and 34 starts in 3 seasons in the league in which they finished 4th or better. He's put together, I don't know how many Champions League games. It must be at least 15 Champions League starts. I mean, Villa are trying to accumulate players here who have sort of been there, but not just been there and done that in a sort of yesteryear sense, but been there, done it, and can continue to do it and can raise the level and the expectation. Gerrard always talks about the lack of consistency and the flaky nature of the team. And, then he wants them to perform every single week without fail to a level that he deems appropriate, because that's what he would have done when he was a player. He's finding it hard to get through to this group of players that level of consistency is required, that they're not doing it. And so he's signing players that understand that. And Diego Carlos is one of those players. That's all he's done for the last 3 years, is bring that intensity, bring the level up, and impress for a Sevilla side who have won a trophy in Europe and qualified for the Champions League.
Now, something I just want to ask you before we go, Aston Villa have also signed Boubacar Kamara, a huge free signing, a French international, alongside Diego Carlos, and we've been linked with various other players as well. What do you think of Villa's start to the transfer window? Are you confident about where Villa could go next season?
I love how quickly they get it done. It's the dream, isn't it, for any football fan to see their club make 3 signings, 4 signings technically with Robin Olsen before the transfer window even begins. I mean, They're acting fast. They've obviously, Gerrard and the team have had, a couple of months here where they've been assessing things. They've come to some conclusions, and they're not waiting around. I think a lot of clubs, not just in the Premier League but beyond, have failed to realise just how quickly this new season will roll round, because we're starting on August the 5th, I think, weekend of. The Championship begins in late July. This isn't very much time. Yeah. And it's because the World Cup in November has forced the deadlines to move. Yeah. And so Villa getting three new faces, well, it's 2 new faces and 2 returning faces in before the window even opens, before pre-season even starts, is a wonderful beginning to the window. And not only that, but they're buying quality. I mean, the Coutinho and Buendia debate goes on, but if you get the opportunity to sign Coutinho, you sign Coutinho. And Boubacar Kamara is an exceptional player. He is a player that I thought Manchester United should sign to solve their midfield problems. Yeah. Again, that's the caliber we're talking. So impressive, ambitious and bold strikes from Villa early on. I don't know what follows, if anything follows at all. I'm intrigued to see, but it's a damn good start. And one thing I'll finish the point off with is Man United right now are trying to sign Frankie de Jong, and they're trying to get that first player through the door who just lets every other player they're targeting know that they mean business. And it's a bit of a game changer for them. They need that first signing before everyone goes, all right, yeah, this is a United project I can get on board with. And they're battling with that. They're trying to convince these players that this is worth buying in on. Villa have done that with Coutinho. We saw when Luca Dean signed, one of the first questions he asked was, what's happening with Coutinho? Are you going to keep him? And they're like, yeah, we're going to keep him. He goes, okay, yeah, cool, I'll sign. So Coutinho comes in. Luca Dean comes as a result. Boubacar Kamara comes because Luca Dean has put in a good word. Diego Carlos and Coutinho are Brazilian. It starts to add up. Yeah. It becomes so important to get that watershed moment and that big signing. And Villa have done that, and then they're moving on through the gears as a result, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, well, the Brazilians, they just need to put a word in with Neymar now, and then I think we've completed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafinha, if your Barcelona move doesn't work out, yeah.
Yes, actually, I would definitely take that. Well, Sam, it's been absolutely brilliant to meet you. That was a fascinating chat, and thank you so much for divulging so much information about Diego Carlos. Could you just let us know, for those who don't know, where we can find your work online?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 1/3 of the Ranks FC podcast, which is a weekly football podcast, drops on a Wednesday that ranks everything in football. We also have a Patreon if you're a really, really big fan of the show. We have about 900 or so ultras, as we call them, and they get 2 extra episodes a week. We work for various different clients and stuff like that. We've done work with New Balance over the course of the season and LiveScore, and we'll continue to do some of those things next season. But we are essentially a podcast. That is my job. It is very awkward to explain to people, what do you do? I run a podcast. That is what I do. The Ranks FC podcast. So join us if you fancy a look at European football.